and everything she wants, and everything you see is out of reach, not good enough. I don't know.
Greetings from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well, without further ado, I am going to plunge right in, if Aurora will allow me to do so, which I think, if I'm very nice to her, she will oblige. Before doing anything else, I'm going to introduce this episode with something from Helen Ferris, and I'm going to conclude with the same subject. But in the interval, I'm going to be doing everything else. Greetings, Lady C. Thank you for sharing treasure with us again. What a relief for you and for him that he is home again. Being realistic and optimistic is the definition of emotional turmoil. I can say that again. I believe he knows and trusts that you will make that tough final decision. Continued prayers for you both. Snuggles for treasure and your doggies. Keep well. Thank you very much for that. At the end of this all, I will address the issue. Okay, thank you so much. And without further ado, I will plunge in with what Larry Mackle says, because we have fun and games ahead of us. Because, as usual, that wonderful duo, the dumping duo, have dumped a wealth of stuff upon us, which we can actually savor. Because, well, I don't think I need to introduce anything beyond saying that they're at it again. So, Larry Mackle says, just saw Meghan arrive in Germany. She seems to look about 10 shades darker. In fact, I have never seen her so brown. What do you think about this, Lady C? I love your podcast and so sad to hear about treasure. Well, do you know that famous old song, Black is Black? I am not a very good singer, so I will leave it to you to be reminded of the song that I'm actually have just played at the beginning of this. Okay, so, well, she's playing the race card for all it is worth. Do you remember when Ari Emanuel took her on? And I said that he was going to be rooting for the sister. And people queried what I meant about Meghan being a sister when he was Jewish. Well, I'm not going to go into all of the nitty-gritty beyond saying that Ari Emanuel knows how to play the race card very well, and he's playing it on Meghan's behalf, and so is she. But I understand she's playing it so well that there is some disaffection at William Morris' endeavour about some of her independent moves, shall we say. And yes, she's playing that race card for all it's worth because she is appealing to a particular demographic. It is a demographic that the Kardashians appeal to. Have you noticed how the Kardashians, despite being Caucasian, have gone down the black route? Pretty much all of them, if not all of them, most of them at one time or the other. Very self consciously they have played because they are playing to a particular demographic. Successful Black people are very loyal, and unsuccessful Black people are even more loyal followers. That category of individual, when plumped out by a rather larger percentage of the population, which is, I'm now speaking about the American population, which is petty bourgeois Caucasian, they have a lot in common in terms of appeal where public figures are concerned. It is a very conscious appeal to a particular segment of the population who are regarded as being particularly easy to sell dreams to, and who will be parted from their money rather more readily than other categories of American citizens, shall we say. So I hope that explains some of what is going on, because there is a very conscious race card playing going on. But it is not only financial, it is that Meghan is trying to drum up followers and backing for her political run. She is evidently, I am told, going full steam ahead, notwithstanding the fact that her support is extremely limited. But of those who are on the Meghan bandwagon, they are determined and they are focused and they are committed. Now, any student of history should know that you don't need to have a huge number of followers. If you have very fanatical, dedicated followers and they stick to their guns, ultimately that might well prevail. That certainly was the experience of the Mensheviks and the Bolsheviks. Shortly before the revolution in Russia, Lenin had written himself off as a busted flush, but he and his followers were persistent, and look at how successful they became. Another group would be the lawyers in the French Revolution. I just throw those facts out for what they are worth. Joy Lean says, imagine Meghan using the milkshake run as an excuse for being late for Invictus, not forgetting they would have access to nanny, house help, and if not, the ever-present Doria would have stepped in. No, I wonder she would have graciously told her staff in the same circumstances, it's okay, it's just a formal occasion. Well, Joylene, this is all very carefully scripted. This is propaganda in practice. If you understand that, you will understand that they play certain tunes at a certain pitch to achieve a certain result. And to an extent, they are successful. As for using the milkshake run as an excuse for being late for Invictus, we'll get to that in a moment, because it was all word salad. You know, Meghan doesn't make a point logically. She makes a point emotionally and illogically, and drags in everything, including the kitchen sink, to shore up the point. So it's buzzwords. Milkshake. Oh, I was papped. The fact that the paparazzo was in the cashier's booth at a drive-through is something that nobody's going to notice, because they're all fools, they being us. And of course, we're not going to notice that. And why is there a photographer from Backgrid with a clear view of Meghan as she's ordering milkshakes? However, she's ordering 3 milkshakes, I think she has indicated she ordered. One for herself, obviously, and one for each of the children. Except the children were nowhere near that car. There were no baby or child seats in that car. So we're now meant to believe that this place, which she has previously asserted is halfway between Montecito and LA. She ordered 3 milkshakes and drove an hour and a half back home to give the kids. I mean, talk about us being stupid. I mean, of course we're stupid. We're gonna believe that lie. Oh, actually, maybe we're not going to believe it, because we've thought about how it doesn't add up. Nothing Meghan says or does adds up, but it's all for show and it's all a big splash. So Sunshine says, but today she arrived in Dusseldorf and gave a speech at a party. They stayed in a 5-star hotel presidential suite. I thought she was not invited. Yes, she arrived in Dusseldorf and she gave a speech at the party. And then the following day, she was in her Chanel and shorts. She was at the games, having taken over, because a star's natural place is in the spotlight. And Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up. And those Germans better be ready to make sure that I get my close-up too. And they are, and they were, and I got my close-up. And it's all about me now. And those veterans, I mean, well, we've got to pretend, and we've got to certainly acknowledge their existence. And, oh, I love veterans in our family, but we'll get to that in a second. Well, yes, she stayed in the presidential suite at the Hyatt 5-star hotel. However, they did not change the decor. They did not up or down the ply on the sheets. And why do you think Meghan was late? It wasn't because I had to take care of the little ones, and I had to get them milkshakes and settle them before coming to see all you people, you poor people. No. It was to create a scenario, a drama, a possible crisis. Meghan's not going to show up because Meghan's not happy, because Meghan didn't get what Meghan wanted. But Meghan's shown up because Meghan is not going to miss another photo op. She had to miss the coronation because she knew she'd be booed. They made sure she would not be booed, but I'll get to that in a minute because I have my informants on the ground and they have been telling me some of what has gone on. So, having said that, her arrival has been a slick operation. People who think that Meghan and her people are not effective operators do not understand that just because everybody isn't duped, that some people aren't duped and that the operators hope that everyone will be duped. It is a massive propaganda exercise. It is massive manipulation. It is, we're going to ignore everything that's happened before. We're going to ignore any perceptions and observations that do not accord with the message we intend to deliver to the public. And we are just going to plow full steam ahead. As one of the Germans has said to me, Meghan and Harry and their PR people are an exercise in a blitzkrieg operations. They just go in and they just literally bomb everybody with news and affirmations and confirmations and proclamations. And it works up to a point. We need to understand that. But behind the scenes, there is tremendous dissatisfaction at the way Meghan and Harry have been playing this. In Germany, they're playing of the race card. He did it, and it was like a stone sinking. She has done it. She has called one of the Nigerians her sister. And they have made it clear that she will be rooting for the Nigerian team, notwithstanding the fact that she is American and that Americans of all colors, classes, and creeds are expected to support the United States of America. And let's not forget it. The patron of an organization is supposed to be inclusive of all the participants and competitors. Harry and Meghan are not, and Meghan by extension, as Harry's wife, who is participating in the show, because it is a show now. They've turned it into the Meghan and Harry dog and pony show. And they've done it very slickly. They are supposed to be neutral. They are not supposed to be preferring one team over the other. Had Harry, I should say, been the patron of, for instance, with Catherine and William, they are patrons of the English and the Welsh rugby unions. So they support the team of which they are patron. But if you are going to be the patron of the Olympics, you are not supposed to be rooting for a team that you say has some common ancestral links with yours, while also ignoring the larger percentage of white blood which you have. I am told by people behind the scenes that there is serious disquiet in Germany about the way they are playing the race card, and there is talk that they don't want them back in Germany at all. Now, why was she late for the Invictus Games? It has nothing to do with the children. What I am told, and I made notes, so I need to refer to my notes because I don't want to get it wrong. I was told that she was deliberately late because she was displeased that her requirements had not been met. She wanted to keep everybody on tenterhooks in case, so that nobody would know whether she was or was not going to show up. And then she decided she would show up, but only partly because I'm not going to reward those people just because. I mean, who do they think they are? I'm a proud, confident woman of colour. I'm 43% Nigerian. I'm not going to allow these people to just push me around as if I'm some sort of, I'm just not going to have it. No. But of course, she was going to have it nevertheless because she needs the platform. And they understood that she needed to be there. And although her demands have not been fulfilled, she is there and she is acting as if everything is copacetic and she had no conflict with anybody. And isn't life just wonderful? I am just marvelous. Also, they made sure that her reception and Harry's reception would be positive. The organizers, I am told by people on the ground, have had cheerleaders scattered throughout the audience who have been under instruction to cheer and get up and precipitate not only massive cheering, but also standing ovations. And that this has been implemented on both his behalf and hers. It's all apparently spontaneous, and it's as spontaneous as Meghan's authenticity or Meghan's inability to ever Google a royal. So, Meghan also made a spontaneous speech. And I'm not going to go into too much of the speech, but I will say that I'll quote a little bit of it. I'm thrilled that the first event that I can do for Invictus is here with all of you. It is amazing. Everything is fever pitch. It's amazing. Everything's fantastic. She's the most beautiful girl in the world, and she's the most fashionable person on earth. And everybody's the most amazing person as long as they have something to do with her. And, oh, sorry. And when they don't, the windmills need to come into off. And when they don't, they're all terrible and should be ignored. Anyway, it is amazing. And I hear the week so far has got off to a good start. Is that right? Must always use the word right. It's so vulgar. We are looking forward to such a fantastic week. Have the best time. We're going to be cheering for you, especially if you're Nigerian. And we can't wait to one day be able to bring our kids also so they can experience just how amazing this is. And there we have one of the key manipulation devices of the whole performance. Because Harry and Meghan have been spreading the word for much of this year that their marriage is in trouble and that he has called in the lawyers, and that they are a great love story. Romeo and Juliet have nothing on us. That's right, mate. Romeo and Juliet have nothing on us. Nothing. She has used that speech as the platform for giving a message. And the message is that they will be together as a couple into the future to such an extent that she will be able to bring over those 2 children when they are older. Well, she assumes a lot. She first of all assumes that the Germans are going to host her again, which I am informed they are not eager to do at all, either him or her. And she not only assumes that she's going to receive an invitation, but she makes the point that her children will by then be old enough to attend the games. So she and Harry will be decidedly a couple. Interesting, no? When you begin to actually examine what she said, why she said it, and dissect it. And I'll close on what she said to Glory Essien, who was a competitor whom she greeted before going in to the reception in the evening when she wore that black dress. I don't know what you thought. I thought she looked frumpy and dumpy, but very emaciated. And I don't know if you've noticed, but in the photographs that were taken of her boarding the plane, and of course she's so elegant, it always has to be black, white, or grey. Have you noticed? Oh, or then beige. I mean, her palette is just so... It's rather like Tallulah Bankhead's emotional range. It goes from the gamut from A to B. Well, she said to Glory Essien, "You're my Nigerian sister." Well, I dare say, every time I run across a Russian, I should say, "You're my Russian sister." Every time I run across somebody who's English, I should say, "You're my English sister." Every time I run across somebody who's Irish, I should say, "You're my Irish sister." Everyone I run across somebody who's Lebanese, I should say, "You're my Lebanese sister." Every time I run across someone who's French, I should say, "You're my French sister." Oh, and every time I run across someone Jewish, I should say, "You're my Jewish sister." Did I include Spanish and Portuguese? Because if I didn't, I should have as well. "You're my Spanish sister. You're my Portuguese sister." Oh, I'm so authentic. I'm just like Meghan. Every time I run across, and I've got to support all those teams. Oh, sorry, I don't. Not one of them is black. I don't have those. Oh, I forgot. I'm Jamaican, which I am. And so, of course, I do support the Jamaican team. And as do my children. I don't know if you noticed in the last video, my son was in Paris wearing a Jamaican t-shirt because we are Jamaican citizens. And I was born and brought up in Jamaica. Why is Meghan not supporting the Americans? Why is she supporting the Nigerians? Why is she ignoring her father's German heritage and his British heritage? And I think there's some Irish there chucked in for good measures. Why is she not supporting all of them? Because they're not black, and the dynamic is for economic opportunism and adventurism. Maria Josefina Zuniga says, "Hi, Lady C. Greetings to you and to your fur babies. I just saw on the news that the bulldozer wife is now in Germany and made a speech at the Invictus. I guess I shouldn't be surprised by now. We all know she doesn't care if she's wanted there or not. She'll just do what she wants. Do you have any info on how she was received there? Anyway, this reminded me of the time when she attended the GQ Awards, where she bulldozed her way in and decided that she would give the award even though she was not even invited. Well, do I have any info on how she was received? Yes, I do. Superficially, well, beneath that, dubiously. People view her and him now with suspicion. They are furious that they have been so overtly playing the race card. Harry and Meghan forget that Germany is the one country you're not supposed to be playing the race card in, but they are ignoring it. And I'll tell you better, so is the British and the American press. They are trying to present as a success what has been superficially orchestrated to appear to be a success, but is actually laden behind the scenes with all sorts of misgivings and all sorts of disapproval. And I understand that it's not only the Germans who are put out, it's a lot of the veterans and their families as well. BBPM says, I feel the crowd at Invictus had cue cards for when to clap. They actually didn't have cue cards, but some of them were instructed. Anyway, H mentioning M was probably added to in his speech later. I feel he could have practiced his speech a bit more instead of reading it off the two screens in front of him all the time. Very distracting and came over very disingenuous to me. Aurora, I beg of you, wake up and get Monty some Coke. I need something to brighten my day. Mickey, go get me some weed. Pity my mom. Mom Doria isn't here. They've got a superior brand of grass in Germany. Superior. I wonder if it came from Jamaica. Maybe the Jamaicans have brought it with them. After all, Everybody knows that Meghan is 43% Nigerian, and the Jamaicans are Nigerian as well. No, they're not, Harry. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're not at all 43% Nigerian. However, we won't go there. Oh, Harry has, as do many people who have used drugs extensively, focal problems, let's put it that way, and retentive problems. He may not be able to retain a fact or a speech, but he can certainly retain a grudge and a grouse. In fact, Harry is better at collecting grouses than King Edward VII's gamekeepers were in 1907. And they were superb. They used to kill thousands of grouse per diem. So, I hope that answers that question. Retired Stitcher says, oh, sorry, before doing that, I should reiterate, there were plants, I am told, by people who are aware of how the event was organized. There were plants placed throughout to rally the crowds, get the chairs going, and get the standing ovations operative. Because I can tell you, I have been to so many first nights where it's almost de rigueur nowadays that you have a standing ovation. And there are always one or two people planted by management in the audience to stand up. And everyone else, more or less, is obliged to stand up. It's called crowd control and management. Retired Stitcher says, so Meghan shows up in Germany. Wonder how many demands the Invictus organization caved in and gave to Meghan, because Harry seemed very welcomed in Germany. I refuse to read about them till this is over. My own blackout of the Harkles. Actually, my understanding is they did not give in to the demands. And that's why Meghan came late. Or, as she put it, I had to settle the little ones, because remember, they don't have a nanny. They don't even have a granny. No. And do you know what they're doing now? They're at home alone. Yeah. Lilibet and Archie, they are home alone. And what do you think they're doing? Oh, well, he's mowing the lawn and she's snipping the cannabis hedges. That's what they're doing. And they're cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner for themselves. Yeah, they are. And I mean, remember, Archie's rarely special. His first word was crocodile, and his next first word was Grandma Diana. And then he also said waffles. He wanted waffles. And he made sure that old broken down, what's her name again? The grandmother. What's her name? Oh. Anyway, Aisha's grandmother, whatever her name is. Oh, I can't remember her name. I mean, she was not really of any consequence as far as I'm concerned. After all, who did she think she was? Just because she was a queen? Did she think she owned royals? Or that she owned the earth? And I do? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I'd put her in her place. You don't own the word royal. I do. I'm royal. I'm the greatest on earth. Well, they didn't cave into her demands. Poor Megsy baby. Can you imagine having to sleep on the wrong ply sheets? I mean, God, that's so reminiscent of all the years that she had to sleep on the wrong ply sheets. The past is such an enemy. especially when I've got to rewrite it and fictionalize it. And I mean, I just can't go back to the wrong ply sheets. I mean, so representative of so many other things I'm going to have to go back to. I mean, at the moment, I'm just focusing on Gordon, can I have a house? H, you need to remember your place. After all, when I'm president, you're going to be first Wally. That's an English expression meaning jerk. Chrissy Eng says, no, according to the Germans' viewers' comments, the local German papers reported their decreasing interest in Harry. Only English-speaking papers, as usual, carrying on with their shenanigans, trying to stoke interest by reporting contrary views and news. Well, let's see what Coffee Cup VT has to say. The Ich bin ein Berliner quote is famous for being a linguistic gaffe. The proper form, or so my professor in German, a native speaker, told me, was Ich bin Berliner. Adding the ein turns the sentence into a reference to a Berliner pastry. What President Kennedy said was, in effect, I am a donut. Whoever crafted that speech for Harry apparently was not a native speaker of German. How strange and how sad, given his family's German roots and through his great-uncle's era, fluency in the language. Well, I'm going to tell you even better than that. Not only did Harry say that he is, instead of saying Ich bin ein Düsseldorfer, he said, even worse than the equivalent that President Kennedy said, because the ein is not supposed to be in there at all, as it totally alters the meaning of the sentence. So, what Harry said was that he was a Düsseldorfer, meaning that Düssel in German means clumsy. You're either clumsy or you're a stupid person. Dorf is village and Dorfer is villager. So what Harry said was, I am a clumsy or stupid villager. It's like, maybe there was some truth in the statement after all. All inadvertent, of course. Then, user me says, he just wanted to throw a race card in it. Also, President Kennedy was on an official visit to the city and not officiating for an international event held in a city. That's right. President Kennedy was on a visit to Berlin, which at the time you might not remember, but I'm old enough to remember. There were huge problems in Berlin between the Western authorities and the Soviet authorities. And President Kennedy was showing solidarity with the Berliners who were surrounded by hostile forces, literally as well as figuratively. What's Harry saying? He was right. He is a stupid and clumsy, really, village idiot. That's what he is. So he spoke the truth. But that's not when he played the race card. When he played the race card was when he said, as he did, that Meghan would be supporting the Nigerian team. Becca Stephanie Thornquist says he should be supporting Denmark as he has some sort of parentage of Danish lineage through his grandpa. He is ludicrous. Well, yes, Prince Philip was a member of the Greek and Danish royal families. He was Prince Philip of Greece and Denmark. He was a member of the House of Schleswig-Holstein-Sonderburg-Glücksburg, which meant that he was Danish. He wasn't German, he was Danish. Schleswig-Holstein still is the family name of the Danish royal family. Schleswig and Holstein were two duchies that the Germans seized in, if I recall correctly, it was the 1860s or 70s. I don't remember exactly when now, offhand, but I think it was in the I think it was in the 1860s. Yes, I think it was. But anyway, whenever it was in the 19th century. So Harry, of course, I'm amazed that he didn't say, I'm going to support the Indian team because, my mummy has Indian blood. Yes, she does. My mummy is a descendant of Eliza Keogh. Eliza Keogh was a half Indian woman posing as half Armenian and half Scottish, but she was rarely actually half Indian, as everybody now knows. So I'm going to support the Indian team. That's equally convincing. A fashionista says, Lady C, the Times has done an interesting obituary on Marc Bohan, who designed for Dior throughout its peak years after Christian Dior's death. I was intrigued to read that he had designed for Norman Hartnell after he left Dior, and remembered from your autobiography a fantastic dress you were photographed in that cost the earth and was damaged during the photo shoot. Did he design it, and did you know him? I'm very flattered that you remember. No, I never met Marc Bohan. Sorry, I never met him. But I do have one or two of the pieces from when he designed for Dior. He was a fantastic but sedate designer, and they finally threw him out because he always gave the client what she wanted, as opposed to giving Women's Wear Daily in New York the headline-grabbing stuff that the House of Dior required, not for its couture clients, but for their perfume business, as it is called internationally. Because you see, the French couture houses make their money off their scent, not off their clothes. And I think it was in 1989 he was summarily dismissed. And he then worked for Hartnell, which was owned by a couple that I knew, Mr. and Mrs. Manny Silverman. They were great. She actually was a fabulous redhead, and he was lovely as well. They, if I remember correctly, bought both Hartnell and Hardy Amy's. I could be wrong, but I think they bought both those labels. And when I did my first Diana book, You magazine flew me out to Jamaica, and it flew out Jeff Wilkinson, who was a very famous photographer at the time. And everything was done, the full 9 yards. Journalists, stylists, hairdressers, the whole 9 yards. And they did a photo shoot of me in Jamaica. And one of the dresses that they got, Sandy Williams, if I remember correctly, was the stylist who organized it all. And she got this £40,000 dress from Hartnell. But I don't know if that was a part of Marc Bohan's collection or the designer who succeeded him. I suspect it would have been a designer who succeeded him because it was too fantastical, I think, to be Marc Bohan. But anyway, I wore it. It was duly photographed. I'll get a photograph of it posted at the end of this episode. And it was fabulous. And because I was on a bamboo raft in Milk River, if I remember correctly, one of the bits of bamboo snagged the chiffon. And I was beside myself. And Sandy said, "Oh, don't worry," she said. "They love the publicity. It doesn't matter," which was a very sort of newspaperish and fashionistic sort of reaction to have, while I was, "Oh, I can't believe that this has happened." But anyway, so no, I did not know him, but I know people who did and who were clients of his, and he was very reserved. He was straight. He was married twice, had children. Very reserved, very correct, very dapper. And so I hope that answers the question. And Robin Curl says, and we now end with treasure. Your animals become very affectionate and needy towards the end. They need to be around you and they need a lot of affection. They're not stupid and they know they're reaching their end. Robin Curl, you're absolutely right. Treasure knew he was reaching his end. Treasure went to the great party in the sky yesterday. I'm going to be very limited as to what I say because it's all too raw. But his passing was very peaceful and it was in my arms. And he was ready to go. He made it clear to me. To me, it is important that we not only give our loved ones a good life, but we give them a good death. After all, we are basically all souls on a trajectory from finity to infinity. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in. Godspeed. And if you have enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and God bless you all. Bye-bye.